Problems. Greg, welcome to the show. I've had a lot of heavy stuff on my mind today, as you may have picked up on. Uh,
Oh
but
my!
but this is where I like being, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I enjoy listening to your intros. I notice you're yelling really early in the show, so it's going to be a fun show. You're fired up today, man, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you, Mikey. I'll tell you, it's a crazy world out there. I haven't chatted with you. I haven't been live on air with you for a couple of weeks. I've been suffering from like separation anxiety from my friend Mike Philip. It's really good to get back up here. I tell you what, you touched on something earlier. I just want to make a point here, real quick. Something you touched on is that we sit there making plans, and we don't want to move forward until we've got everything planned out and everything's a perfect time and I'm all ready and stuff. And it takes me down to a business principle that I've taught for decades, probably 30 years, and it's called ready, fire, aim.
Ready, fire, aim.
Uh,
Okay, let's hit
yeah,
into it.
the business world, the business world suffers often by paralysis by analysis, where we overthink stuff. We overthink stuff, and we don't
Yeah,
bloody take a shot at it. So, ready,
right.
fire, aim means, are you ready? You want to start something? Okay, fire. It's like send out a pilot program or do a test study or whatever. And then once you fire, you see really kind of what's going to happen. So aim after that, adjust yourself, pivot, and aim, and then fire again, and then aim and pivot again. And that's how you do it. But you don't. Paralysis by analysis is a real old cliche, but it's so true. We overthink stuff. We overthink our days, Mike, and like you said, I almost touched on it earlier, is we forget to just enjoy our day, enjoy our hour, and for what it is without overthinking it. Again, it sounds cliche, but it is so important to just count our blessings, however humble their blessings, and not overcomplicate things. Don't no paralysis by analysis. So there you go. We're off to the races here, Mikey.
That's a really good saying. I like that because people are schemers. They try to plan things. If I have so much in my 401k or my healthy portfolio, or you know what I mean, then I'll be able to
Sure.
go off into the sunset and live out my golden
Uh,
years, and it'll be like an
uh,
Elton John song. And no, that could be
yeah.
taken away from you at any time if you think you're going to plan that out and make a perfect situation for yourself.
Yeah,
It's just
you want to hear you want to hear God laugh. Tell him your plans, and I'll tell you what, Mike. We're off to the races here. I want to talk to you about this. This is kind of what you're touching on. Don't plan out too far. Whatever, you can lose everything you have in a minute. It's many stories detailed over history talking about tragedy like that. But I remember during a very, very difficult time in my life. There's not one successful guy that I know that hasn't had his butt kicked in life, if not many times, right?
yeah,
And I remember being at the lowest of the low. This was years ago, thank God.
yeah,
And I was just coming out from a real tough business situation, licking my wounds, and I was buying a car, and I was getting a car loan for the first time in a while, and I had a dear friend of mine. I had my butt kicked. I mean, you've had your times, Mike.
oh yeah,
Anyhow, and he took me aside. I said, I can't believe it. I risked millions of dollars and lost my butt and blah, blah, blah. He took me aside. He said, Greg, and he's probably 20 years younger than me. He said, Greg, great man, guys out there, they're like captains of ships, okay? Captains of ships have either hit a swell or they're going to hit a swell. Right?
yeah.
There's no such thing. I've never seen a successful person, who hasn't really had their butts kicked. And often at the awful time, sometimes later in life, I've seen people go right to, Wyatt Earp died a poor man. Wyatt Earp died a poor man. I mean, there's all those stories.
George
So the moral of
Washington.
the story. Hmm.
George Washington was killed by a bad medical procedure, and he was pretty
That's
much
right.
broke. Every one of the signatories of the Declaration of Independence, they
That's right.
they lost
That's right.
everything. They lost their
And
homes.
a
They
lot of those
lost their
guys
family.
died. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of them died. Oh yeah. If young people could know the sacrifice. But the moral of the story, it's funny you say this, Mike, because you talk to a real, a vast array of people, of group. Your demographics very eclectic, of course, being a pastor and being a radio guy. And I have a really eclectic, big time demographic of people that I talk with, and a lot of really successful men, many people I haven't never even talked about publicly. But the one common denominator I find about them is I'm talking multi-millionaires now, you know, not 7, 8 figure stuff, maybe 9 figure stuff, Mike. And the one common denominator I find is they all seem to be really humble. It's almost and we're not talking the Bill Gates of the world, but it's almost like the more successful they got, you know, no one gets to that point without having worked their tails off. Nobody. You don't get to be successful without working your tail off. But there's humility. And one dear friend of mine yesterday from back east say his biggest concern every single day, Mike, get this, every single day, the guy's making a ton of money, is losing it overnight, like something breaking or some bad thing happening and just losing it. He lives in fear every day.
Yeah.
Not fear, but just doesn't enjoy the joy. Because I'm saying, by the way, dude, you're really doing well. You're making tens of thousands of dollars a month. Enjoy it, dude. But so worry and fear is not exclusive to any age group or socioeconomic group or whatever. Worry and fear is part of so many people's lives, Mike. You see it at your church. We see it every day with Americans around the country and stuff, and Canadians. They worry too much. There's too much fear. We really do need, indeed, to enjoy the day. You know, carpe diem, man. Carpe diem.
Yeah, I mean, look, every plan that you have, I look at it this way, and I've told people this before. I like to play a little game called Then What, right? Okay, so
Exactly.
with everything that you do, think to yourself, then what? Then what?
Right.
Then what?
Right.
Ultimately, it's going to lead to you standing before your creator. Then what?
Correct.
And that's where it's going to end.
Exactly.
No matter what side of the equation that you're on.
Yep.
And if your planning does not include that eventuality, it doesn't matter if you're Queen Elizabeth or Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. I mean, literally, though, like yesterday, I was watching all of the, as you know, Queen Elizabeth passed on yesterday, and I saw a lot of people that were making snide comments. I saw a lot of people that were making comments about how wonderful she was, and my thinking was, well, neither of you actually know this individual, and, you know, whenever a queen dies or let's say Tom Petty or Glenn Fry of the Eagles, right? You'll hear about it for a couple of days, like everybody thought that they were going to be the person that lived forever, and it's like that over and over again. Glenn Fry died. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it. Glenn Fry or Tom Petty. Wow, I thought he was going to be the one. You know what I mean? And like. Sure. Why are you shocked? Why are you shocked? Like, why haven't you dealt with the eventuality that's where you're going? I mean, it's just that simple because
not everyone's Keith Richards, Mike. Not everyone's Keith Richards who lives for 5,000 years, right?
Right. You know what? We're going to hear about him any day now. We're going to hear about Keith Richards any day now.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, we're going to hear from everybody, Mike. We're going to hear from everybody someday. Mm-hmm. You know. You're talking about the most simplistic truths of all, and the common denominator message I always feel is, you know, don't idolize anybody. We all put our pants on the same way every day. There really is only one destination in life for all of us, and that's the next moving on, like you've been touching on. And goodness, it does sound cliche, but it just is so true. Just love your life, right, Mike? And the toughest part about loving life or feeling positive or really enjoying your day is when times are tough. It's when you don't feel like enjoying the day. It's when you don't feel like getting out of bed every day. You and I have had massive sad times in our lives, Mike. And people out there right now who are listening right now have massively sad times, tough times, financial times, whether it's paying the bills, whether it's worrying about the kids or the parents are getting older. But all we have is today. That's all we have is today. And if at the lowest point that anyone can get, because I've been there, lowest point where you really, really, really don't think anything could get any lower, that deep, dark hole of sadness or depression or what have you. The only way I've got through it is just turning it over, just giving up, taking your hands off the wheel and say, okay, God, seriously, God, okay, I'm done. and magically, incredibly, wonderfully, blessedly, for most people I've ever known, things turn out when you do that, when you do surrender like that. So it's the folks going through the tough times, which I reach out to all of you today, because I promise you I've been there. I promise you. And Mike Phillip's been there, and everybody I know has been there. So hang in there. As I say, just hang in there. One step at a time, one more new day at a time. And I really think things work out. Things work out for most people, Mike.
Let's talk about this thing with the Queen dying. So, like, she's on the money in Canada and Australia and New Zealand and Britain and Scotland. And do you think that they're going to take her off the money here, or do you think that are we going to get King Charles on our money? Do you think so?
I've never heard. I was on air yesterday with our mutual friend Val Olson yesterday, talking about that breaking news with the Queen, and this conversation, Mike, is just very much a generational one. Mm-hmm. If you talk to baby boomers like me, or especially seniors, your grandparents, the World War II folks, and there's different points of view. A lot of people down here, I listen to and it makes me sad. I was down here in the Phoenix area and just heard kind of almost mocking little review of it. Who cares about the money? And yet from generations, I have a number of friends from Canada and from England, of course. And it was a really, really sad day for me personally. I'm 63, so this is before you were a Confederation. The anniversary of Confederation, 1967. It's before you were born, but we had in Dorval, Quebec, in Montreal, we would sing every morning in classroom, grade 1, grade 2, God Save the Queen.
Yeah.
And we had a Union Jack in our classroom because Canada has no identity. They just had a Union Jack, right?
Yeah.
And so it was before the red and white Canadian flag, goodness gracious, but we sang God Save the Queen. And I was raised just respecting her and just honestly and really. And I analyzed the character. I read a lot of the history and stuff. I'm just so impressed with her. She was a feminist before it was cool. I describe her as a Rosie the Riveter, of the monarchy. She was a mechanic in the motor pool in the army. She served in the army. She was trained on weapons and arms, and again, before it was cool. She was a lover of animals, but most importantly, and I don't want to sound like I'm her paid spokesman here, is just really appreciating 96 years. Thank you very much. That's incredible. But just appreciating what she meant to so many people, including my old relatives in England and the World War II folks, Mike. And symbolic, whatever, relevant now or not, whatever. It was. I think we'll be hearing about her for hundreds of years. And I won't make any political comment on whether she should be on the money or not, but I would say, honestly, traditionally, yeah, why not? Why not leave her? Why not leave her forever? Whatever. But that's my little monologue on Queen Elizabeth, and at least it was a sad day for me, a sad day for some of my family members over in England as well.
I thought about it, and the history of Canada and Confederation, the British North America Act. I was somebody that was kind of a main point for me as to why Alberta should cut ties with Canada, because it's such a weird there's no clear rules. And
right.
I mean, it was a confederation, a country confederation / whatever that was born in a foreign parliament across an ocean. I heard people talk about, how that Canada separated from England in a bloodless coup, unlike the United States, and a lot of Canadians were very snotty about that. But I always thought to myself, no, we still have a governor general. Yep. We still have a, lieutenant governor general over these territories. In a lot of ways, the way that I saw it was that the British Empire, instead of chancing losing North America altogether, wanted to maintain a foothold, which they called Canada, which they'd been fighting with the French over forever and been fighting with the United States over. Okay, all right, you have your own country, but it's on a leash. And that's how I viewed Canada, but that it was it was the illusion that you have your own destiny, and this is speaking strictly from a flesh point of view here. But
Sure.
it looked to me like that was a desperate attempt for the monarchy to keep a hold over a vast majority of North America, and not only that, but the most mineral and farmland and oil and gas rich part of it. To be quite honest with you.
Oh, Mike, before, boy, there's so much to talk about on this issue. This is a whole episode on itself, of course, but, I'd say before anyone in Canada gets too full of themselves, in any value, from any value standpoint, just understand, like you're saying, the monarchy from England, and I'm not going to get into a history lesson. I'm not a wonk here about Canadian politics, but the monarchy, as you say, in England, the king. I mean, the king. He was the one that was just fighting the heck out of the Americans. Those dastardly Americans down south. But basically the monarchy leveraged all of Canada. It's almost they tried to reserve it, for themselves, even though there was really, it was more presence out west, as from Americans, from settlers out in Iowa and so forth, than there was from any Britain or East Coast folks. But without getting into a big history lesson, the most important thing I think here in this discussion is kind of the 100,000-foot view is, basically Canada chose Britain, whether it was by default or not. They did. They chose to stay in Britain, and the Americans did not. But America was smart enough at the time, the Founding Fathers especially, said, don't ever write off the Founding Fathers. They were way smarter and way more applicable to 2022 than anyone would know. Let's say the Second Amendment, for example, the First Amendment. Are you kidding me? The Founding Fathers knew that Canada was a vast country filled of course, people, but most importantly, resources. Sorry, Canadians.
Huge amount of wealth.
The world we want you for your resources. We want you for your oil. We want you for your St. Lawrence Seaway. Are you kidding me? St. Lawrence Seaway. So America was smart enough, and the Founding Fathers were smart enough and they built it into the founding documents of the United States. That at any time, at the time it was Canada or any quote province, at any time, a province or Canada could change their mind and just become a state, just like that.
Yep.
They wanted to leave the door open, and so scholars, and I'll tell you what, this is my key angle, honestly, for the Alberta 51 movement, as you know, and we've talked about it. But all it really takes, think about this, Mike, as far as the Founding Fathers were concerned, way back when in the 1700s, all it takes is really the U.S. Senate to decide. And it's got to be better than 50-50. That's all.
Yep.
That's all.
No, and we've talked about this before. And
oh, yeah.
The other thing, too, is that what a lot of people don't realize is that the western part of Canada, specifically Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, really didn't have a choice as to whether or not be a part of Canada. Canada basically annexed that whole territory and then broke it up into smaller territories or provinces and then turned it into a voting bloc that had no say whatsoever in Confederation.
That was Buffalo. Was that Buffalo?
Buffalo,
was that Buffalo, Mike?
It's I don't understand why my countrymen in this locality would want to stay tied to Canada. I don't understand it at all. The argument was always, well, the health care's free, and there's my stupid commercial automated break. But I think that the opportunities would be so much greater being part of the Union, part of the United States of America.
Right.
But it seems like America's kind of falling apart too. Like there's vast swaths of America that want a divorce from each other. I mean, if you look at California, Texas, the coastal states, New York and Oregon, and you know what I mean? Like the divisions between the people are so stark right now that we could be looking at a monumental shift where there would no longer be a Canada and the United States, maybe just a big swath of land running from Alaska to Texas. We could call it, dare I say, Diagolon.
That's right. Boy, I mean, what a subject here, Mike. We've talked about it so much. But what I really want to touch on quickly is when you talked about Buffalo, basically those three provinces out west, right, roughly.
Yeah.
there's the perfect example why the founding fathers, as you touched on, they were basically leveraged, and really with no money changing hands. It's the ultimate Vegas bet, where Britain said, "Okay, you're going to be Buffalo, right?" And the United States was smart enough to say, "No, by the way, Buffalo, which means Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. By the way, anytime you want to come back to the United States, and you don't want to be leveraged by Britain, come on down." Because you touched on it was so important. The folks out west were illiterate. There was no way for them to even understand what the issue was of choosing Britain over the U.S. It was, as you say, just simply assumed. It was assumed by Eastern Canada, and if anything, that's an ongoing theme that I say is I think America's more, Western Canada is more American than they are Canadian. So if they do want to stay, and I understand it, Albertans, everyone I know loves Alberta. I love Canada. I was raised in Canada. I love Canada. But if they do want to stay, I think it's just kind of sentimental. If you like your Mounties, you like your universal health care or whatever, but I do
That's
see...
all crashing now. That's all crashing now. The Mounties are about to be kicked out of Alberta. They're talking about getting rid of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And as far as the healthcare system goes, we had a woman just recently, I didn't tell anybody this, but she went in and had to get some work done. She needed to get some stitches, right? And they told her to make an appointment in a couple days to get them out. Well, she couldn't get a hold of anybody. She couldn't even get in to get her stitches out. I had to do it. Okay?
Oh, man.
You can't, if you get in to get one thing done, if there's a follow-up that needs to happen within the Canadian healthcare system right now, you can't get the follow-up. There's just so backlogged, so disorganized, and it's literally like it's falling apart for those of you that think that Canada's got this big free healthcare system. And let me just say this, Greg. Canada would not have been able to operate its healthcare system the way that it did without the benefit of sitting on the northern border of the United States and having the U.S. economy as 90% of its GDP. Like let's say Canada was located where Poland is, right? Would they have had the money to actually implement all those policies with their healthcare system the way that they have? No, they wouldn't have. Not only that, but without stealing resources from Alberta, who doesn't have a say in the matter. And even with that, it's still falling apart, and it's greed. It's just greed. But I want to say this: we've got to go to our commercial break, Greg.
Sure.
I out of all the people that I deal with, the ones that I am most inspired by are brand new Christians. Brand new Christians, like just fresh. They don't know anything. They don't know what
Pink cloud. I call it pink cloud.
They're not they're not scholars. They're not they're not pretending to be wise. They're not Moses on the mountain looking down. All they know is that they feel God's power and they feel his love. And the one that I'm really thinking of right now is my brother and my friend Matthew in California, who has been helping people to relocate their animals and comforting people that are grieving over losing their homes in California. And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not the state that has allowed this to happen or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's happening. But I'll tell you what, that guy has a faith and a hope and a love of God where you can't shake him right now. And when the book of Revelation with a lot of them churches, God said to them, you have lost your first love. And that's what it's talking about, that first love, when you first have an experience with God and you know he's real, you know. But over time, so many people have that faith stolen from them through the worries and cares of this world and thinking about bills, and they lose that. You know, God's going to take care of me no matter what it looks like. And it's very inspiring talking to people that are brand new, and because they've got a shine on them hasn't been stolen away from them. So Matthew, never ever lose what you have right now. It is nice. Beautiful. You got a shine on you, and it's wonderful. And I'll tell you what else, those people that are suffering right now, They need a man like him there more than anything.
Yep.
More than anything. A man that's got God's blessing on his life, and you just can't shake him. We got to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back right after this. Greg, don't go anywhere, okay? Don't go walking out on me.
There you go. See ya.
All right, we're going to go to our commercial break for our sponsors at Mojo 50, and we'll be back with more Dueling Citizens right after this, and then in the second hour,
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio show, Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Well, God loves the outlaw, but he doesn't love the sin. Just open up your heart to Jesus, he'll surely let you in.
Americanuck Radio.
Well, God loves the outlaw.
welcome back to Americanuck Radio. We're here on another installment of Dueling Citizens with Greg freaking Meakin. Hey, Greg, the internet has not dropped once since we had you on. Maybe,
Oh, man. Maybe there's good news on the horizon here, Mikey.
Could be. And I'm
Staying
looking
connected.
I'm looking at the chat room here, and Delta Harp and Tammy are saying, I couldn't get on the live show on Rumble yesterday. I just couldn't do it. Well, ladies, that's because there was no live show on Rumble yesterday. We actually ran a replay on Mojo 50, and you can catch that if you want to. And it's all at AmericanuckRadio.com. Boy, your feisty little buddy Carrie Lake is really making waves with the media down in Arizona there, isn't she?
What have you seen lately, man? And I'll fill you in. Tell me what you've been seeing up there, Mike.
Well, just the fight to get Katie to come and debate her on live TV. And what's her name? Katie Hopper?
Katie Hobbs. Katie Hobbs.
Yeah.
You know, there's a common theme, and I don't have any Democrat friends that'll talk to me now. You know, I don't know, because since Biden, you know what I mean? Where I'm saying I just want an honest opinion here. Why do you guys keep hiding?
Wait a minute, you have Democrat friends?
From debate. Oh man, I used to, but I'll tell you, they've been quiet as a mouse since the Biden election, Mike. I can't get anyone even, Dueling Citizens. It's funny, it used to be that the original brand was supposed to be like a real hardcore Democrat versus hardcore Republican, like Sean Hannity and Alan Colmes, the Hannity and Colmes show. But I couldn't find them. I'm just telling you, I'll reach out, and if there's any true Canadian liberal who supports Justin Trudeau, if there's any true Democrat who loves and supports Biden, I'd love to just chat with you. Let's have a little duel, but I just want to hear you support them, because it's incredible that you can't even get a rational conversation now. But either way, on that subject, is Katie Hobbs is just she's flat chickening out from a one-on-one debate. And I'll tell you what, I actually don't blame her a little bit. I wouldn't want to debate debate Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is awesome, and she's. And what Carrie Lake brings to the table is she's not just a politician. Well, she's a brand new politician. She was a news broadcaster down here. She's legendary, like 27 years.
Who is what affiliate? What affiliate was she with? Was she with Fox or MSNBC? Who was she with?
I don't know. I'm new to Phoenix, so I really don't know. But she's a legend down here. But it means that, and anyone just has to watch her and listen to her. She's so well presented. She speaks beautifully. She's fully media trained. But most importantly, she'll punch you right in the nose. And that's that trait I've been talking about. It's big time Arizona trait. And I was telling my wife this. I don't like anyone chickening out from a fight or a debate. Just get up there and defend your positions. I don't think that they're going to get away with it, Mike, come election time. If Katie Hobbs, and that's a really close race, but if Katie Hobbs is a pure, true blue Democrat, right? True blue Democrat. If she does not debate Carrie Lake, face to face, podium to podium, I don't think she's going to win. I don't think she has a chance to win because the voters won't tolerate that now. Don't underestimate the voters. And you want to see, win, lose, or draw, you want to see your people in a debate, your opponent in a debate, your allies in a debate. You just do, even if it's typical talking points and stage stuff. You still want to hear it. So Katie Hobbs is going to really do herself a disservice, and really all Democrats who might support her. I just can't imagine that. But by not just going toe to toe with Carrie Lake and with her ideas and defending her ideas.
What I've noticed is that most of the time, people who are of a liberal mindset, they won't actually talk to you. What they will do is take cheap shots and ad hominem attacks on Twitter or something like that.
Of course.
You know, I banned myself. You know how everybody gets freaked out about being banned from social media? I banned myself from Twitter.
Nice.
I did.
Nice.
Look, I found myself looking at Twitter and getting angry. Like I was getting mad at the things that I was seeing. And it was, I'm a pretty happy guy. I usually got a lot of joy in me. And there was Twitter just waiting to take that away from me. And I found myself looking at it a lot. And wanting to feed that rage that wanted to be there. We've all got it in our flesh. It's something that, but I found that the more I fed it and the more I looked at it and the more I, we all, there's the common themes on there. This is a clown world. And what I noticed was that Twitter is, it's an instigator. Like what they were doing was putting things that were diametrically opposed to how I see the world. Into my timeline, making sure that I saw it and setting me up for an angry conversation where nothing was going, and you don't even know if it's a person that you're talking to or looking at. And so, no, I just, I took the step of banning myself from Twitter, from social media, really.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I stay on, I still have my personal Facebook page. I have for 12 years, and I've kind of stayed consistent to that, and for good, bad, or otherwise, but for the most part, I think you're right on the money here. I don't know about you, but I don't want to waste any time. Minutes become more precious the older you get. I don't need to waste any time arguing points on social media to someone who's not going to change their mind, who's only there basically to be a troll and it's a name calling. I'll convict Democrats and liberals on this one. My theory is, and it's not my theory. Rush Limbaugh had it. The theory that Democrats, sorry everyone, you just got lousy ideas. Your ideas don't work. Sorry, climate, carbon taxes, this or that, all these utopian ideas, they just don't work. And you have lousy ideas. The only down here in the States, the only credit Democrats are taking for spending money. We got a senator down here, Kelly, who, all his commercials are just based on what money they spent, taxpayers' money that was added to the federal debt. But he's calling himself a hero because of that. We know the paycheck protection process, or whatever some of those bailouts were. But that's not an idea. That's not a fresh new idea. Give me an idea of how to stop the total 5 million illegal crossings since Biden became president. 5 million, including getaways. There's a number for you there, red meat, Mike. So what are your ideas to do that? How are you going to stop that? How are you going to fix inflation, or at least contribute to inflation, bring prices down? Are you going to open up the Keystone Pipeline? Whatever. Win, lose, or draw, conservatives and Republicans have better ideas, and they have ideas. You could go through every one of my Greg's lists. You know that, Mike. Here's an idea to fix the border. Here's an idea to fix healthcare. Here's an idea to fix the military. But rather than name calling, I have so many people back east that they had took so much offense to me, especially when I wrote my old Greg's lists about a Trump White House and stuff, and all I could do is name call. He's a clown. Like I say, he's a clown. He's stupid. He's dangerous. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying, well, what about the $1.75 gas? That's not danger. That's $1.75 gas under Trump. What about the secure borders? What about this? What about that? And there's really no response or reply.
He's orange.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's not a mature answer.
No.
Yeah, that's not a mature answer to say, well, he's a blowhard. What I don't know what do you mean? I mean, he's a president. He doesn't need to be your boyfriend. He's the president of the United States. Come on, man.
That's funny. Yeah, you know what? This is something that I was thinking about this morning. I used to be a hardcore libertarian. Okay, I was a hardcore libertarian. I thought, if we just basically abolish government and then everything will be fine. I've changed my mind. I actually and hear me out on this, Greg. Okay, and everybody listening to me, you're going to be like, "What, Mike? What?" Listen,
I never yell at you, Mike. Not even once.
I think that Democrats, liberals, whether in Canada or the United States, the LGBT crowd, I think they're the ultimate libertarians. Now hear me out. Here's why.
Okay.
They do what they want. They do. They don't follow the rule of law. They don't. They will do anything to get power. That's the whole name of the game. They will lie. They will cheat. They will steal. And their whole thing is to thine own self be true. They're the ultimate libertarians. They do what they want. Their laws are for suckers as far as they're concerned. Think about that. Sure. They do what they say what they want. They do what they want. They're not into liberty for other people, but it's the same thing with communists, right? They talk about equality. They talk about the little guy and distributing out amongst the poor and blah blah blah. No, at the top, they're all about getting rich. They're all about.
And honestly, we could do a whole show on that alone because there's so many misconceptions. But here's the deal: the two sides of one is behavioral. Do what you want. And that's what you're talking about on the do what you want, LGBTQ, whatever.
Yeah.
The freedom thing. Okay, that's fine, but that's a behavioral standpoint. Okay, that's called being a social. That's called being a social liberal. Okay, a social liberal. Where libertarians are, I think libertarians are much more, I'm going to say, focused and narrow than people think. Because libertarianism really is a fiscal thing, Mike. It's a fiscal thing. Now, think about this. Libertarianism simply means, it doesn't mean no government. It just means federal government, federal in Washington, D.C., or in Ottawa in this case. Just get out of everyone's business and let the states or the provinces run it. Right? And clean and let's have a wonderful state within a little country within a country. And that's really the libertarian way. The libertarian way is to cut back fiscally, fiscal management, real devotion to the taxpayers and value for the dollar. You still provide the essences like military protection and cops and so forth, and hardship and senior folks. You still do that. But you basically just turn over the rest of things, such as to the private sector. The private sector does a better job at doing everything, and that's where the economy explodes. I almost joke that Donald Trump was the most libertarian president of our lifetime because he essentially cut loose the private sector. He also he really reduced regulation a lot, which people don't know. But that said, I wouldn't mistake libertarianism to really basically fiscal conservatism and social liberalism. I always used to joke, Mike, that I don't care who you marry as long as you both love hockey, right? Right?
Yeah.
That's a libertarian statement, and I don't care what you do with your body. I just don't want the taxpayers to pay for it. Okay, so because of social conservatism, it results in because of fiscal conservatism, it results in social liberalism. Do what you want, as long as it's within the law.
Listen. Okay, so I have a friend that is a Buddhist. Okay. I know a man that is a Buddhist, and he got jerked around, on a business deal by some people that he was working with, and he wasn't too happy about it. But he explained to me that everybody's own sense of what's right and what is wrong is right to them, Therefore,
Right.
ipso facto, them jerking him around in the grand cosmos of things was just fine because to them it was right. Like there's no standard of right and wrong or what's a lie and what's truth, and that's what they operate by, and that is libertarianism in a nutshell. Would you not agree with that? And we've been, by the way, just so you know, Greg, we've been cutting in and out from the radio station and from Rumble, so I don't know what got heard and what didn't over the past 10 minutes here. But yeah, we're definitely getting messed with because my internet connection has not gone down. It's just Rumble and the connection to the radio station have both cut off at the exact same time several times while we've been talking here. But our station manager, Ron Phillips, has hooked us back up. We've only got like 3 minutes left in the first hour here. I'm going to give you the floor, Greg. Go ahead.
Sure, real quick. Really good stuff, Mike. As I say, where's the time go? Welcome to the 12th episode of Dueling Citizens with Greg freaking Meakin on the Mike Philip Americanuck Radio Network, right? I always say I've been getting a lot of activity. If folks like my writing, what we've been talking about and stuff, go to my website, which is gregmeakin.com, which is GregMeakin.com. Quick shout out, obviously, always to the Alberta First 51 folks. They're always there, alive and well, and we wish them well on their successful journey to become the 51st U.S. state. You know, the quick shout out too is to Val Olson News, a mutual friend of ours. But I want to thank you, Mike. You didn't say this publicly, but I want to thank you. You did a fabulous cameo drop in to Val Olson's show on Twitter. She's on Twitter Spaces. But I've done 4 or 5 shows with Val, and you did a fabulous drop-in cameo where you took 10, 15 minutes to tell Val what you were all about, what Americanuck Radio is all about, what your mission was all about. And if anything, I hope, speaking of all about, I hope we're all about, everyone listening today, and Mike and Val and everybody else, that we all just kind of work together toward the common good. Let's start winning elections again. Let's get involved again. Let's get our energy up to take back our state or our province or our country. That's the overall theme. And guys like you, folks like Val Olson, people like Mark Lamb, people are like the Carrie Lakes of the world. We're trying to do something to fix it. So there you go, Mike. That's kind of my sign off. And thanks as ever, man. I love chatting with you. I really do. And I'll tell you what, Mike, it's got a very, very big reach, this show. I mean, we're talking multi-continents right now, especially because I'm rebroadcasting them on my YouTube channel and stuff. So I wish you the very best with your awesome radio show. Signing off, looking forward to the next episode. And you did a great job today, Mike. I thank you. As ever, I thank you.
Greg, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it, my friend.
Okay, take care. Keep on praying for all your flock there, man. Tell them to hang in there, too. Okay, Mike?
We're going to be talking about that on the other side in hour 2.
Cool.
All right, we're going to let Greg go, and we've got about 1 minute left before we have to go to a network break for Mojo 50. When we get back, I want to talk about horrible situations. Horrible. Awful stuff happening around you, but the answer and the turnaround can be right under your nose, okay? And that's often how it works with God. And we're going to go to the book of 2 Kings. If you have your Bible, that's where I want to go today. But I stand by my statement, and actually I'm going to expound on it a little bit after this, that I think that libertarianism, well, it's foolish. We'll be back right after this.
Listen, Jesus will never say no. That's what my mama told me when I wasn't nothing but a little boy. She said, when you grow up, son, remember I told you that Jesus will never say no. And when your friends turn their backs on you, remember I told you you can call them early in the morning, and you can call him at night. Oh, Jesus will never say no, never say no. I said, Mama, how do you know? She said,
back live for hour 2 in about 1 minute here. As soon as I said to Greg, we have not had a disruption in the show so far, it immediately went down. The interesting thing is I can see my modem over in the corner. Our internet did not drop. Okay, the internet did not drop. The connection to Mojo 5.0 through that program and Rumble, both at the same time did on this computer. I was watching the internet, though. It did not drop. All right? So something else is going on here. Going live in 10 seconds. I'll talk a little bit more about my views on libertarianism right after this.
With great mojo comes great responsibility. Mojo 5.0.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio on Mojo 5.0, WBN 324, and the Stu Peters Network on Rumble. My views have evolved over the years. They really have. I'm not the same